Welcome back to the Safe Room, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, the President Sean Williams. We're back with another episode. It's Monday, top of the week, top of the morning, and today we have a wonderful guest. This is someone that I met back in August of last year, and ever since I met her, I thought I have to get her on the podcast. I feel like I said that with every guest, but I'm telling you, this woman right here, she is a absolute beast at what she does in her craft, and I'm so glad to have her on the podcast. Finally, it's like the stars have aligned, and today we have Monique. Monique, how are you?
Oh, I am doing wonderful, Sean. Thank you so much for that nice intro. Yeah, definitely the stars have aligned. I can't imagine it's been like 6 months since we first met, and we're only now having this conversation. Completely my fault because my schedule has been super hectic. But yeah, I appreciate your patience, and yeah, really excited to chat today.
Yeah, honestly, I tell myself this. If you ain't busy, then honestly, you're not chasing your dreams. You're not chasing your aspirations. So honestly, you don't even need to apologize for being busy. You are on your grind and it shows, okay? And like sometimes you need to go out there, chase your ambitions. So again, don't even apologize for that. We love to see the grind here on the podcast. So again, I'm really glad to have you on here for this episode. And I do want you to just share a bit exactly what do you do because some people may not know you. This might be their first time hearing about your name, specifically what you may do. So again, maybe you want to give a little quick intro exactly what do you do?
Oh yeah, howdy y'all. So I'm Monique. I am the founder and lead content producer of Dom Productions. So we are a content production agency that specializes in photography, video, and writing services for small businesses, but also we do have a few big corp clients. Shout out to my time in corporate that provided me with these connections coming into the game. So yeah, we do a bit of both. So that means like branding photography, team headshots, promotional videos, testimonial videos, blog posts, email newsletter copy, social captions. We do, yeah, all of that stuff.
Yeah, I feel like I have to grab like a pen and paper and just write all that stuff down. Oh my goodness.
It's a lot, but it all makes sense when you think about it. But I'm sure we'll get into that later.
That's all that matters. It makes sense. And yeah, we're definitely gonna get into that later. So we're gonna talk about Dawn Productions, what the empire that you've built, because I consider it as an empire. Everywhere I go, like I see people saying like, oh, like I got all my headshots, my stuff done by Dawn Productions. I'm just like, yo, I need to link up with her soon and like get like a photo shoot booked in because like listen, like the little white back screen that I have, it's not cutting it. It's not cutting in my house. So like
I mean, yeah, that's really what, like, I mean, I'll be honest, like, I started off doing a lot of those in studio, like on a plain white backdrop or plain color backdrop in the past. And then realized, like, hey, I really want to just get more unique with this because there's only so much that you can do in a studio. So we work with each brand to figure out what's their personality. Um, who are they trying to target? What are their goals to find like what's their unique value proposition, and then just go from there, try to make each individual's content um, as special and as unique as possible.
yeah, honestly, hey, I call it humble beginnings. You got to start somewhere, and then once you do, you move on to the next echelon. So,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely. So, again, we're gonna definitely get into Don Productions, but before we do that, we're gonna start with our opening segment, the hot seat. Listen, Monique, simple 4 questions I'm gonna ask you. Just answer them to your best ability, okay?
Oh my God, my stomach's gurgling already.
You don't worry, you'll be good. You'll be good.
All
Okay,
right.
so question number one. Outside of your work, tell me something about yourself in one sentence.
Outside of my work, um, I can tell you what I stand for, which is I am a person who's a big advocate for women's equality, for getting more people of color at the table, for getting more women of color a seat at the table, and for mental health and taking care of yourself.
Yo,
Yeah.
I love it. I absolutely love that. That might be the best answer in the history of the hot seat segment
Oh,
on this
oh,
podcast right there.
don't do that. Don't do that.
Nah, that's beautiful. I love it. I don't know if you heard of this like organization, Flaunt It, because I feel like everything that you're saying, it like there's such a correlation in between that. So like I've been to a couple events for Flaunt It, and like it's been absolutely amazing what they've been doing. So like I really love the type of energy and vibe that you're bringing, not only to yourself, but I do see it in the work that you do as well. Again, having like more women of color, bringing them to the table, having more resources for them, giving them the opportunities, so that way, again, they're able to succeed whatever path that they're doing. So I love that answer, because I know like that wasn't you just saying that because like, oh, I'm on camera, let me just say something fancy. Like that's you being unapologetic and just you kind of expressing what makes you special. So I absolutely love that answer.
Thank you. And I just wrote down flaunted because I want to know what they're about too. So just in case you're like, why is she writing
Little
stuff
plug
down right
right
now?
there.
Okay. But yeah, you're completely right. I like did some self-reflection over the holidays as I do, as I think a lot of people do, going into the new year. And I was thinking like, how did I get where I am? Or like, why do I do the things that I do? And a lot of my life or my life experiences, it had something like when it really came down to it, it being a woman and being a woman of color always like played a factor into it. And I
Absolutely.
feel like I talk about it a lot, and a lot of people might be getting annoyed at this point, but like I really don't care. Like this is my experience. You can't take that away from
Thank you, thank you. I was so glad you said it. It's like, listen, you want to, you're getting tired of hearing it? All right, I'm gonna say it twice more, 3 times more. Okay, just for the people in the back who didn't hear me, I'm gonna just scream it to the heavens. All right. So moving on to the second question, what is your favorite activity to do? Like like to help you pass time.
Watch trash reality TV, hands down. Like there's like no question about that. If you know me, you know that that's like my entire home life or life outside of work.
Okay, so like with that, I have to ask, like, what are some of those shows that you
Real
be watching?
Housewives of New Jersey is my one that I'm binging right now. I'm trying to get through all the Real Housewives. Before, like MTV was my jam. So, I mean, in general, like my anxiety coping mechanism is to watch Jersey Shore over and over and over again. I don't know how old you are, but like I grew up, I was in high school the time when Jersey Shore was like at its peak. And yeah, so that just kind of like stuck with me. And now every time that I'm feeling down, I just throw on a random season and I'm good. But anyway, so Real Housewives of New Jersey, Atlanta, and Potomac. Those are my top three. Are You the One is also an MTV show that I tend to go back to quite frequently. I started watching some of those trash ones on Net. Love is Blind, even though I see you giving me judgment
I'm
face right
not
now.
giving
I'm like,
judgment. I'm hearing all the different shows, especially like the Real Housewives of Atlanta. You said MTV's, like it was bringing memories, like, oh, MTV shows, Cribs. I was watching Cribs and everything. So like I totally get it. And if you're just wondering about how old I am 22. So
oh my gosh, I feel like a grandmother. You're younger than my younger sister. But I'm surprised that you were watching Cribs and you're like 22. I feel like
yeah, I
Cribs was.
mean,
Oh, no, no, no. It came back for a while, from what I
yeah,
recall.
yeah,
Yeah.
I feel you.
No Kardashian content, though. This is a Kardashian-free household. Yeah, you just don't do that
Mm,
over here.
yeah, I totally get it. Wow. Like honestly, I feel like if I'm watching like reality shows, I'll only be watching it just to kind of like, yeah, like talk trash or just bash and everything. Like that's like my comedy. So like, what was it? There's like this one reality show that they had on BET one time. I think it was the Real Husbands of Hollywood, and like,
Oh, the Kevin Hart one.
yeah, like I just, that was so hilarious to me, because like the thing, like the people they had overall, they had Kevin
Yeah.
Hart, JB Smoot, Boris Cujo. I was just like, bro,
He did such a good job at parodying it. Like, I hope you know that that was a parody, right?
yeah, that was a parody.
Okay. Yeah, but he did a really good job. I remember season one was hilarious. Season two, I felt like he was kind of like stretching the content a little bit, but That's just me having like my it's funny, like even though I'll watch all these trash shows, like I'll still sit down and like analyze them, or like look into the trivia, or like think about like what was the like creative direction behind this, or like why were the transitions like that, why did they choose this music for this. I also listen to a lot of podcasts that review the shows, and like they talk about it too. It's usually like prior film students watching these shows. Or even I listen to a podcast that covers like any legal cases having to do with any of the reality TV personalities. And I'm like, this is so interesting. This is why they behaved that way on that one episode, because they were dealing with this legal drama. And like, yeah, I also love a lot of the behind the scenes stuff, but that just goes into like everything that I watch.
I like that. No, you and me, like we're on the same page. I am that over analytical like person. It's like if I'm watching something, I'm watching for like what's the score on this movie or like what on this show, like what's
Yeah.
the transitions, like what's the storyline? Is there a character arc? So like you and me, I feel like we connect. There's a connection right there.
Like, let's talk if you're the type of person that like reads the Wikipedia page of a movie after you watch it.
It's just like, okay, let me get more about this character. Like, oh, that actress or actor was really good. Like, let me go search them up. Like, what have they been in other
Yeah,
movies?
exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, I get it. Absolutely. Cool. Moving on to the third question. An interesting fact that you rarely share about yourself.
Ooh, I saw this question before. Okay, so this is a hard one because I feel like I'm pretty open on social and online. Um, and this is a very new take on my life, or a very new direction that I'm going in, because I mean, if you met me 10 years ago, like I was a pretty closed book. I didn't really like sharing too much about myself, but I think with like, you know, finding yourself and finding what you're passionate about and being finding your community, you're more open to share, and also going to therapy helped a lot. So now I find that I'm oversharing online. I could just spit out like a bunch of random things. I mean, my parents are Guyanese. Started off Dawn Productions doing a few music videos that I hope nobody ever finds. You know, what else? I I don't
Honestly, like
know.
for a moment, I thought you were kind of stalling because like you were like, oh, I kind of opened everything. So I'm like, is she stalling? Like, is she like?
I'm trying to think like what have I not shared? I don't know, like I've been going to therapy for almost 8 years. I am, oh, this is something that like I'm still trying to wrap my head around and I haven't really shared. So I guess like you're getting it first, but I believe that I am recovering from an eating disorder. Yeah, I don't know. Like, what else is there? I hate taking care of plants. Um,
I feel like that's like anyone in a Caribbean household when your parents like go water the plants and like you don't or you forget. Or like it's even worse when like you go out and they tell you to do that and then you hear that car pull up, your brain just goes into like a
oh my
panic
gosh,
mode.
it's like taking out the chicken out of the freezer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like I said, like I feel like I'm pretty open book. I'm like, oh, I'm also like super OCD in terms of like having a clean space. You know, I clean my room every single day. Yeah, I don't know.
I
Those are
mean,
a few little tidbits for you.
I feel like the interesting fact is that you are an open book. You know, a lot of people may not be like free to like admit that. Maybe they won't say like, "Oh, I'm an open book," or when they say I'm an open book, it's like, okay, some certain things I'll say, but other things I'll keep locked. But I feel like with you, especially how you're kind of sharing everything here, it's like even though it might sound random, it's like, oh, like you really just like to express yourself. And I love how you mentioned at first you were kind of timid at first. You were kind of intimate in sharing certain things about yourself. Like I was the same thing. Like before I had this podcast, you would not see me on social media. Not Instagram,
Yeah,
not Snapchat, Twitter. I would be ghost. And now I feel
yeah,
like ever since I've had this platform, I haven't been more active than ever before on social media. So like maybe for you, that interesting fact, it's like, you know what? Having the things I have today, it's actually helped me to express myself more with, my audience. So now it's like, okay, you don't just see like Monique, the businesswoman. You start to see like a different side of Monique. Like, oh, I can be fun. I can be like, very bubbly. I have a good personality. I have things that I would shock you if I told you. So, I mean, if you want to take it as that, I would probably say the interesting fact about yourself is you are an open book.
Yeah, even though okay, so I guess the interesting fact is that I'm an open book, even though when you meet me, I'll probably come off as a little bit reserved. But the thing is, if you ask me questions, I'm more than willing to share.
This is why we have the podcast, ladies and gentlemen.
There you
We're
go.
getting to the questions and everything.
Yeah, especially if it's something that's gonna help you out, then yeah, I'm I'm not a gatekeeper. It's funny, I went to the store the other day and the cashier, he's like, "You have really nice teeth." And I'm like, "Okay, yeah, thank you." And he's like, "You probably get that a lot." I'm like, "Yeah, I get it a lot." He's like, "Okay, so how are they so white?" And it's like, honestly, the reason why I don't like this question is because I have to tell people there's no reason why. I don't have any like special trick. And when I tell people that, they like look at me like I'm gatekeeping, and I'm not. And like people always be looking at me up and down like, yeah, I'm sorry. I don't have any trick. I don't have any special trick. I'm sorry, but like people always be looking at me up and down like, okay, okay. She doesn't have okay.
It's like you got like the perfect commercial teeth. It's like it can't be true. It's just like, well, if you brush your teeth like I do, then maybe you'll get there. So
Look, I just consider myself very like blessed and I'll just leave it there. By the grace of God, I have pretty nice I mean I had braces, but like in terms of the whiteness, the whiteness of them, it's just brushing, man.
absolutely. Hey, no problem. No judging
All that
here.
to say, all that to say is that I'm not a person who gatekeeps. Ask away, and yeah, I'll answer.
All right, perfect. So like with that, let's transition to the final question for this segment. What is your personal safe room?
My car. Yeah, the reason for that, and I've shared this with a lot of people, I had to move back to my parents recently, so I don't really have a space of my own. So, like, even when I'm in my bedroom, Caribbean parents are like, oh, do this, come, like, help me cook, or like, I need you to run out and get this. And it's just like, ah. I love my family, absolutely love them and adore them. But yeah, it's just there's four of us in the house and it feels like there's 18. So when I'm in my car and I'm driving by myself and I have my music up or my podcasts on, I have a sparkling water or a latte in the cup holder. I'm sipping it. I'm living my main girl fantasy, driving down the 401. We're good. No, not the 401, because the 401 is stop and go, and that just like makes me irate. But like the Gardner, the Gardner on a good day, like when you're just like flying down, it's like, oh yes, the window's down, wind's like flowing through my weave. We're good.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Yeah, no, listen, it's something about a car. Like when you're in your own personal car and it's just like it's your own space where you can just kind of like be you. Again, like you said, listen to music, maybe listen to your own podcast, everything, your favorite podcast. It's just you get away from all the drama. It's just like it's you, nobody else, and you feel so calm and at peace with the world. But one thing I will say, like I know there's probably times where you have to maybe deal with that road rage and like that could be very annoying.
Oh yeah, when I'm running late and then it becomes everybody else's fault when there's traffic and then all of a sudden I'm mad at everybody else because I'm late. Yeah, absolutely. But one thing I did realize, and this is me doing like a lot of psychoanalysis on myself, is that I tend to like turn up the music like really loud and like start scream singing. Um, Not well at all, so that's why my windows are up and my windows are tinted so that people can't see me. But yeah, that's another reason why I feel like safe because I don't feel like people can see me as much. But I realized that when you're singing, you are breathing a lot deeper and more consistently, then your anxiety goes down. So that's why like I feel just I feel more calm because I'm only focusing on the road. I'm not looking at my phone or anything. Like I'm focused on one thing. Anxiety is down. I just feel a lot calmer in the car.
Mm-hmm. That's really good to hear. Really good to hear. All right, perfect. Yeah, that was basically the segment right there. You gave some fantastic answers. That was like that was really fun. I'm being honest. That was so much fun hearing all those answers from you. So I'm really glad again you're able to open up. Now we're gonna get into, Dawn Productions a little bit more. So, like I said, your brand has helped like a lot of entrepreneurs, small businesses kind of improve their visual content, their written content, or even whatever resources you've been able to provide. It's really had such a monumental impact. So I just want to know, when you were developing this idea, like, was this just all for you, or like were there additional voices that were part of the process that were helping you build this in the first place? Was it just kind of like everything came together because I had a team, or was it more I had this idea, I want to do it, and then eventually it kind of grew into, you know what, I can actually start bringing more people into the fold and we can start building this vision together. So just share about how Dawn Productions first got started and how it looked like.
Yeah, looking back on it, I feel like this was always a plan. Like, I really feel like this is where it was meant to be. Because growing up, I mean, like with a lot of people, when you grow up, your vision of like what you're going to be when you grow up, it changes a lot. I know at first I wanted to be a teacher when I was in elementary school, and then I got to high school, I wanted to be a journalist because I'm like, I like the idea of being on TV, but I also am a creative writer. And then went to TMU for I went to the school when it was still called Ryerson. Now it's Toronto Metropolitan University. Yeah. And I went there for journalism, graduated, realized that I hated journalism. So I'm like, okay, let me get into like a marketing gig ish. So I was working for a larger scale business. It's about 150 people. So like in the corporate scale of things, it was a small business, but it was a corporation. So they were in like finance and technology. I was working on their marketing team, but like really looking back on it, my entire life, I loved creating videos and I loved taking photos. I used to ask my parents for digital cameras for Christmas, or like those film cameras because like I'm old, right? So, and like buying film for me. Um, yeah, and like I loved creating videos with my friends, and I wish like I grew up in the time of YouTube, or like it really started getting popular when I was in high school, but yeah, I'm pretty sure if that was the case, I would have been on there. And yeah, even like taking pictures of my friends at recess and like printing them out and putting them in albums. I took Comtech in high school, freaking loved that. And then when I got to university and I wasn't doing that stuff as much, it really took away some of like the creative aspirations in me. Then when I left school and I got into this marketing job, it kind of re-sparked that again because they were asking me to do video for social and then also write on their blog. So I was able to insert some of that creativity again, even though it was insurance. So after a while, I realized that this is not where I wanted to be for a multitude of reasons. A lot of it had to do with the fact that I was the only woman of color on the team, but also because it was in insurance and finance tech, I could only get so creative with the type of content I was creating for them. So I decided, hey, I'm actually going to give this business a chance because it had always been in the back of my head. Funny enough, I remember telling a friend of mine, I think like I was still in uni, I think it was like in second year, and him and I would always watch The Real World together. That's another MTV show. Or The Challenge. That was I still watch The Challenge to this day. Yeah, him and I would always be watching it, and I'm like, I want to create my own reality TV show. And like, how hard could it be? Like, I know a lot of like crazy personalities in my own life that I could cast. I could just like rent a house and, just throw all these people in there and just feed them for like a week and just film them and see how it goes. And he's like, you know what? I'm going to hold you to that. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to create my own production company one day. So yeah, after being at that job after school and realizing that I don't want to be here, applying for a few jobs and like not really liking the direction it was heading in, I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna quit. I'm done. I'm quitting. I am just going to try this business out and see where I can go. So started with filming a few music videos for friends and some other like local artists. Didn't really enjoy that, even though it was super creative and I loved working with creatives. It's just a lot of different factors that go into music videos that are out of my control. They're very like very disorganized working with a bunch of personalities, and I'm like, I can't do this. I can't do, my anxiety's through the roof right now. I can't do this. So Um, a friend told me about this government program called BizStart, and it allowed me to work on my business for 6 months while getting paid for it. So definitely recommend it to anybody who is, I think, between 16 and 30 and wants to start learning like business fundamentals and how to build a business plan and everything, because it was very helpful in those beginning stages and gave me like a little bit of income because your girl was paying rent at that time and was freaking the fuck out. Sorry, I don't know if I can swear. Uh,
You're good. You're good.
so I did that for 6 months, started building up my clientele, freelancing. Some of my friends who worked and like had full-time jobs, like I would ask them like, hey, can you introduce me to your boss? And like, yeah, and it's just been trending upwards, I guess you can say, from there. Because as I started building my clientele, that's when I realized I can't do this by myself. And my goal is not to be a freelancer for the rest of my life. I actually do want to have a production company. Like this is what I said years ago, and like this is my chance to actually make it happen. So, all that being said, I had to start adding people to the team, and that started happening last year. I mean, like I was playing around with it in 2021, but like really went full throttle last year with adding people to the team, and we're going to continue to do so this year.
Wow. Wow. Everything that you said, just like amazing, especially how it all started, with at first, again, you had the vision, but you didn't know, like, was it the right time? And you tried to, like, do things as, like, any normal teenager at the time would be doing, just like, go to school, university, see what's there. And then, like, there's moments where you think you hit a blockade where it's like, okay, maybe not head in this direction. Let me try this direction. And it's like you always have to keep making twists and turns until you finally get back to what you originally were thinking of. So like I find
Hmm.
like when I was hearing the conversation, all I was thinking like it seemed like Monique was going in circles or going into different paths, and eventually got her back to the original thought she had. Let me actually start this off. I have this vision. Let me put it into use, and like look what it's brought you. Again, it's brought an amazing clientele. It's brought a lot of people's attention where they want to collaborate, they want to work with you, they want to, you know, be part of like something special that you're doing. So I really like how at first, this was just an idea and now it started to actually blossom to something very special, like for real. And like, again, I think for anyone listening right now, like I feel like if that does not motivate you to where if you have an idea or if you have a goal in mind, don't give up on it because eventually it's always going to come back to you. And sometimes you just need that push to, just go for it. And maybe if it's not what you envisioned in the first place, maybe it was just something of like a blueprint. It's just a start and it's going to branch into something really special once it actually, comes into the fold. So again, hearing all that back, I was just kind of like, man, like that was amazing. And it's funny too because your story kind of is similar to another person I actually interviewed last a couple months ago. Same person, or she was like a multimedia creative. So basically, she does like
Sunshine.
photography. Yes.
I just listened to that episode a few days ago. Yeah, I literally just followed her like I think yesterday or this morning or something, just because I'm like, I feel like I should be talking to this person.
Guys, you see what's happening? This is a special moment. It's the connections. This is why I
Yeah.
do this, guys. I do these episodes because I'm hoping that other people connect with other people. This is all right. My day's done. My job is done.
No, when listening to her too, I'm like, this sounds like me. Like,
Sunshine, if you're listening to this, just let you know, like we see you. And like listen, Monique, again, like you're doing some amazing things too. But one a follow-up question. So again, your like production company is named Dawn Productions. So like where did
oh
the
boy.
name come from? That's what I'm curious about.
Okay, so Dawn Productions. I'll give you the light version of this story. Well, okay, so coming out of uni, my first job technically was at this African TV station, or okay, so they were trying to be kind of like the BET of Canada. So I was working there as a segment producer, but it just basically meant that I was just doing everything that they threw at me. So I was editing TV shows together, or like editing interstitials, like in the commercial breaks and whatnot, or I was like interviewing hosts, or going to events and interviewing people. It was all, or like I was producing shows, like literally trying to string together shows, like booking the location and booking the guests and the hosts. It was a lot. There was like probably like 10 of us on the team trying to put together an entire TV station. Anyways, so the 10 of us, like we were all like pretty close. Like we became like this little family. Like we'd go out for lunch and stuff together every day. And I was having a lot of fun at this job. I met one person that met me on, I think, my first day, and just kept on, like we were in the room together and I just hear like, Dominique, Dominique, Dominique. I'm like, are you talking to me? That's not my name. But yeah, it just kind of just became a thing. So now when I left that job and started the job at the finance tech company, I wanted to continue doing stuff like the music video stuff, or like the creative stuff, but I also didn't want to intermingle that with my corporate identity now. So I kept the name Dom specifically for like music videos, photo shoots, and then would just go by my government name, Monique, for my 9 to 5. Dawn Productions was a thing, but I really didn't start like pushing it until like 2016, 2017. But I was just going as like Dom, like directed by Dom, or like Dom and Company. I didn't really know where I was going. Like when I actually came time to like register my business, I think in 2019 I did it. That's when I'm like, you know what? Let me just name this business Dom Productions.
Wow. That is interesting. That is an interesting story.
Yeah, I know. It's like a lot longer too. I tried to cut it down as much as
No,
possible. I'm
I felt like
sorry.
the more you were sharing, I'm just like I was really comprehending. I'm like, okay, so let me get this straight. Dawn Productions came off of the fact that someone missed like in like they said your name wrong. I
They
was like,
misspoke. Yes.
that is like it's odd, but I'm like it's funny as well. Like I can't help but just laugh inside. I'm like, wow.
Yeah, it was really just me trying to create two separate versions of myself, and like it was not working out after a while. So now I still have a lot of people who know me as Dom. One of my best friends, actually, to this day, she calls me Dom because I introduced myself as that when we became close in like what, probably like 2016. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm not even gonna lie. I think I might have introduced myself. I might. I think when the first time we talked, I might have said like
A
Dom.
lot of people, a lot of people. I'm not
Yeah,
mad at it. I'm like definitely not mad at it, but yeah.
yeah, I agree.
It just reminds me, like, why did I do that? Like, why did I do that to myself?
Yeah, yeah. All right, perfect, perfect. Okay, moving on to the next question. So again, we kind of got the gist of what Dawn Production is, how it all got started behind its name. So I want to ask, like, what did you want people who are like starting off in like content creation to learn about your brand? So let's say for someone who maybe didn't understand how to, operate around audio visuals, or even like getting a better brand awareness, what did you want to offer to them that would, help enhance their performance, but also in a sense, build that relationship? Because I noticed that with some of the clientele that you have or the people that you connect with, it's not just okay, come in, do what you need to do and get out. I can see that there is a strong connection with that person. So it's like, oh, that was really good. I'm actually going to recommend, Dawn Production to this person or another person I know who's a creator. So, like, what do you try to offer to anyone who might be starting in content creation or even has had a good amount of experience in content creation so that way you build that relationship?
Yeah. So with other content creators, I definitely try to recommend that when you're working with your clients, try to get to know them on a deeper level. This is something that I just kind of understood coming into the industry, and I thought was a normal thing, but apparently it's not. Um, but like I really do try to get to know my clients, to the point like where I've become friends with some of them. because we feel comfortable talking to each other and sharing things with each other. Because when you do show up online, vulnerability is your superpower. Especially if you are a small team, the reason why people are buying from you is because of you and your personality, not always because of what you're offering, because there may be a million and one of the same things that you do. There might be like a million retailers or like clothing lines out there, or jewelers, or candle makers, or graphic designers, website designers, but there's only one you. So you have to be able to sell yourself. And the way that you do that is by showing off your personality and trying to become as relatable as possible. Because usually, like when I'm trying to get to know people, I hate small talk. I want to be able to get to know people. Like I want to be able to really get to know them. So it just made sense for me to do the same thing when working with clients. But for some people, it's just kind of like, okay, how many posts do you want a month? Or like, how many pictures do you want? Or, how long do you want your video to be? And like, I really try my best to get down to the meat and the bones of who this client is, what this business is. So, my recommendation to content creators out there, like, really try to get to know the people that you're working with. And don't be afraid to really show who you are, or if you're creating something for somebody, show who they are.
I like that. I like that last part for sure. Yeah, I definitely agree with that sentiment of like making sure you're getting to know, your clients and get to know a little bit more about what they do. I like how you don't have that selfishness to like, okay, well, I have my resources. They kind of come to me. I give them what they want, and it's cool. It's like, no, like I actually want to, see what you're doing. Like, how can I help you rather than I'm giving my services to you and it's benefited me. I think like you see it in a way where it's like, what can I offer to someone who might be stuck, might have a bump in the road at what they want to do? How can I, provide more that allows them to see actual growth, whether it's maybe getting new followers, or maybe it's the presentation of how your brand is represented. So like, for example, maybe if you're not as good with social media marketing, maybe you just need a little bit of help of creating posts, like maybe having a template that you can work with every single time, or maybe how you outline your posts, everything on social media, having that professionalism. I know before, I've had people sometimes tell me that when they post, it's like a blob. It's just it's a mess. Everything's just all over the place. So sometimes like I can even see where, okay, you know what? Maybe if I'm able to touch up my professionalism in terms of how I post, how everything looks aesthetically, it looks pleasing, then I'm on the right track. And I like how
Mhm.
you get to the nitty gritty of little details like that. People just assume that, oh, just I'll try to make sure you get more people to follow you and stuff like that. But it's like, no, like, whatever I'm offering, is it actually making you feel better, and do you feel happy about it as well? I think having that happiness factor really matters as well, because again, sometimes you may be doing this and in the back of your mind you still may not be happy about it. I think with you, what you offer, especially with Dawn Productions, it's about making the client happy. So like at the end of the day, when he or she sees it, it's like, wow, like this actually, like, it brings a smile to my face. It brings joy to my heart, because it's like, wow, like everything that you're offering or everything that you're telling me, it's actually, reaping the benefits. So again, I love how, you're so committed to having people, you know, just get that understanding. Like that's what's really like a strong character trait that I see in you. So like again, I second everything that you said. Everything that you said.
I mean, it's funny that you mentioned that because, like, as much as we do have a strategy going into everything that we do, I don't promise growth. I don't promise happiness per se, but I do promise that I'm going to help you show up as your most authentic self. And as a result of that, clients are happier with the stuff that they're putting out there. Another thing too is that, like, when I'm creating content, it's not always with like sales in mind, or like strictly promotion. But with all that content, you are able, because, okay, so let's bring it back a little bit. With marketing, like I said, people don't buy because of the specifically the product or service that you're offering. It's because of the personality. So, like, I mean, imagine like a telemarketer calling you every single day and being like, "Hey, do you want to buy something? How about now? How about now?" You're not really understanding like, what is this of any benefit to me? Why should I be buying from you? So that's the gap that I'm trying to bridge right now, is giving you content that allows you to show off your personality, but also gives into allowing you to grow your sales, grow your network, or grow your brand and following.
So Monique, you're a very consistent person. Like I think throughout this conversation, if we haven't heard all the things you've been doing, then I don't know how much more I have to say. And obviously, you prioritize all your responsibilities so well. But I do want to ask, like, have there been times where you kind of overload yourself in terms of what you need to do, and maybe it forced you to kind of like step back, where you had to reevaluate and be like, okay, maybe I need to, look back at this and kind of readjust at what I'm doing. So, like, were there moments that you kind of felt a little like, again, overload? You had that burden. You just kind of like, yeah, this is too much. I have my limits, so let me just kind of chill.
I mean, this happens every day, literally every day, an internal battle. It's like, okay, it's like 6 p.m. At what point do I just stop? Uh, See, I have this problem. This is something that I'm trying to work on in 2023. It's like my word of the year is slow, because I've been banging my head against the wall trying to get things done and just overworking myself and, being burnt out multiple times a year. But just kind of having to push through it because, like, this is my business, this is my bread and butter. I don't do anything else. So, it's this or nothing. But if there's one time in particular that I can mention, it's in 2021. I went through a couple of situations that like took me back in my personal life. So, went through a really bad breakup. Had to leave my apartment, move back to my parents. Came home. Grandmother was sick and passed away. So just a lot of stuff was going on. Had to be like flying because she lives in New York. Had to be flying back and forth between there and here, and it was just like a lot on my family at the time. A lot of changes going on. The pandemic as well. So just a lot happening, and that was the first time where where I took like an impromptu pause on work, where I had to reach out to clients and be like, I just can't do this. I'm sorry. And up to that point, I just said that that was never going to happen. Like, I can figure this out, I can push through. But that was the first time where I'm like, I can't do this. So, all that being said, it's caused me to look over the past year and a half ish since all that was happening, to find ways to build my team more and build systems where I can take a step back if I need to, because in general, I never really built me time, or just like any time. Like when you're working like a 9 to 5 or something, or like when you work one of those jobs with benefits, or even if you work shift jobs or like part-time jobs, you can like request time off. Like, I never schedule time off for myself. Like last year, I think I took a week off. Um, Try not to get emotional. Woo.
Hmm.
Okay.
Hey, look. I actually did want to jump in, and the reason why I asked this question to like some of my guests is that time where you're able to admit that you need a break, I think it's like, so it's a really good moment, especially if you're someone that's like as determined, hardworking as yourself. Sometimes when people say I need to take a break, people look at it as a sign of defeat, but I don't look at it like that. I see it as your actual like growth that shows that, you know what, I am not like this god. I am not like super woman that could just go out and do everything. Like, I'm human. And if people don't respect the fact that I need to put my mental health and just my self care first before anything, then honestly, I shouldn't be associating myself with those individuals. So the fact that you said that you took like your first impromptu break and you didn't feel like, oh, like should I be doing this, or like you weren't worrying, you're like, I'm taking a break and like that's it, because I need to prioritize myself. Like,
Yeah.
that's great to hear.
I mean, I was worried that entire time. Don't get it twisted. I was worried. I was worried, shaking, screaming, crying, throwing up, but like I had to do it. Like I physically couldn't get out of bed some days.
Right. I feel you. Again, there's multiple times the same thing happened to me. Like, there was periods I didn't want to stop what I was doing because I felt I was on a roll, or maybe it's just me stopping would kind of push back everything so far. But now, if anything, last year took more breaks than I could ever imagine, and surprisingly, I feel like I'm still growing. I'm still on pace. So again, for you, the fact that you've learned to take more breaks. You even mentioned, like, you took your 1 week trip as well, and I think that's so important because again, we need to practice more like mental health, practice more self-care for ourselves, because again, we can't be doing this 24/7, especially if you have loved ones that you want to spend time with, or just go out for yourself, even like connect with people just that you haven't talked to in a long time. I think that's really important as well. So I definitely think, having that, confidence to take a break is such a beautiful thing that we shouldn't really dismiss. So we're gonna wrap things up real quick. So moving on to the final question, and like we did kind of cover this, I think in the first question. So you did mention about, like, your team, how at one point it was just you, but then when it starts to, like, build and build, you need to get a team to get all the things done. So I do want to ask, like, how was it like developing a team? Maybe if you want to like shout out some of your team members on here, because obviously we love to show love on the podcast. So yeah, how was it when you finally made that commitment to building the team? Was it relatively easy? Was it something that, oh, I actually know who I want to get, or did you have to do a little bit of scouting, a little hiring process in between?
Man, it's been so up and down. I will be completely honest. I'm so like, okay, no, let me start off by saying this. I am very happy with the girlies that I have on my team right now. Yes, I call them my little team of girlies. Shout out to Pam, shout out to Anisha, shout out to one of our newest team members that started with us last week, Marcella. And then we had a few interns in the past, also a few other team members. But I'm super happy with everybody who has walked through our virtual doors. I'm very blessed to have worked with these people who were so committed to helping Dawn Productions at the time. And that was one of my main concerns, like going into this. It's like, oh my God, nobody's gonna care about my business as much as I do. And I'm gonna have to be like worried about them dropping the ball constantly. Like, not the case at all. Everybody who I've worked with has been like super amazing. I try to make it a point to work with women and women of color, just because I did not feel coming up in this industry, whether it be marketing, journalism, media, I never felt represented. So that's why I'm working so hard right now to create a space for those women. But yeah, just like finding like specific types of people for specific types of content creation has been quite a struggle. I will say that. It's like even if I find somebody that I do like, maybe they're too busy or they're a little bit out of budget, or yeah, they just can't make the time commitment. Like for example, like I do all my projects, my video projects on Premiere Pro and Adobe products, and somebody might be using Final Cut. Like, ew, gross, get away from me. Uh, but no, like I said, I've been super blessed to be working with the people that I have. Yeah, it's been a struggle, but I will say that I'm pretty happy with the people that I'm with right now, and I'm looking forward to this year adding some more content creators to my team, whether that be photographers, production assistants, videographers, editors. So if you know anybody, send them my way. Because I put stuff out like, so the reason why I've been struggling too with this whole like hiring process is like I put stuff out on Indeed and LinkedIn in the past, and just like, I don't know, I have a certain like level of professionalism that I aspire to, and like some people that just be like emailing me like, "Hey ma'am, resume attached," or like, hey bro, resume is the time. And I'm like, really? Like, I'm not gonna look at this.
It's like, where's the first off, there's no respect right there. Just like, hey, let's resume, two twos. Here you go.
Yeah,
There you go.
yeah,
It's just like,
exactly. So yeah, it really opened my eyes to like, wow, this is what people are like really submitting. I was like, very shocked to say the least. But you know, a lot of the people that I have found, funny enough, has been through social media and Instagram particularly, or like through other clients. Like I'll meet somebody and be like, hey, are you looking for like a few hours? Like I really like what you're doing. So it's been like personal connections rather than just doing the online hiring thing. Yeah, that served me a lot better.
yeah, I noticed sometimes there are some people who they'll actually just make like a post on it, like an Instagram. They'll say like now hiring or like we're looking for someone, and if you need to submit your resume or cover letter, then again you can just email the whoever you need to email, or again maybe there's like a form in the bio. I noticed that some people do that if they're again not comfortable with going to Indeed or LinkedIn on putting it. Because again, I do appreciate the fact that you have that professionalism. It's like if I'm looking for someone, I don't want it to be half-assed. I want it to be like, okay, here's the description. Here's what the qualifications are. This is who I'm looking for. This
Yeah,
is
like
what I
try.
could.
Just try.
Right. And it like it wouldn't hurt for like the people seeing this to put the effort of like, okay, let me respect this person because for them to put this up, like they're serious. Again, if someone
Yeah.
came up to me and let's say I'm looking for like an audio editor, right? And they're just
Hmm.
kind of like, all right, here's my resume. Look at it. You have such composure because I would have responded to them. I'm like, yo, what the hell is this, bro? Get this shit on my face. If you're gonna bring this attitude, then like we don't do that here. So again, I appreciate the fact that you have that professionalism because again, if you don't have that professionalism, like what are you doing?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I see it a lot in this industry, and I'm so thankful for the people that I work with because they hold like the same values. And that's another thing too, that I had to like sit down and decide before adding more people to the team. Is that like, what are my values as a person, as a business? Because I want the people that I work with to hold those same values. So I created a DP handbook, a Dom Productions handbook, and like just saying like these are the things that I care about. And like I even cared about, I even mentioned the things like mental health and like women's equal rights and giving more people of color a seat at the table.
Yeah,
And not
absolutely.
saying that those are the only things that you should care about, but like please let these things matter to you.
No, absolutely. I totally get it. I totally get it. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I guess just some final takeaways on my end. Like, guys, again, if this conversation did not get you to know more about Monique, about Dawn Productions, then I don't know what else to say. She's doing some phenomenal work. I got to see Monique a couple of times, like we mentioned before the beginning, back at the Branded conference in August, and then just last month. I want to say last year, but it feels so weird saying last year, just knowing last year was a month ago. So I'm saying
Last month,
last
yeah.
month so I don't trick myself. But like for clarification, December 2022, I saw Monique again at the Bits holiday event, and
Shout out bits.
yeah, shout out to Bits, man. I actually had to give shout out to them because like they got me my first ever like fun I ever received. Like so,
Did you take the program?
I took the YCEO and I got a Spark
Nice,
Fund. So
nice. Congrats on that.
yeah, so again, shout out to Bits, but Monique, yeah, you're doing some fantastic things, and like I don't just say it because I'm the host and I'm trying to be polite. I really mean it. Anytime I get in connection with someone, I bring them on because I want people to know what they're doing. To be honest, like no one really gives a shit about me. I'm joking. I'm joking. Obviously, care about me because you want to listen to me, but like obviously, when the time is right, I want to shine a light to everyone that's doing some amazing things. And like I said, you are doing some incredible things. So I just want to say, keep up the good work, keep doing what you're doing, and don't stop.
Thank you so much for having me on. And I will counter what you just said there. I feel like people do want to know a lot more about you. I had some questions while we were talking, but you know, we can take them offline. Like I wanted to ask you more about your experience with Bits just because they're one of my clients too, and I always like to know. Um, yeah, and your experience as an entrepreneur as well. So let's keep the conversation going. I'm like, thank you so much for having me on.
Of course, of course. Where can people find you on social media?
Okay, so Instagram and TikTok, we are domproductions.ca. So that is DOM, M as in Monique, productions.ca. That's also our website, even though it is down right now as we are rebranding and planning for relaunch at the end of February. You can find us on LinkedIn, Dom Productions. You can also connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm Monique Hutson. You might see Monique Dom Hutson. Yeah, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, website. You can email me info@domproductions.ca.
Okay, perfect. Absolutely perfect. Thank you guys for listening to the Safe Room podcast this week. You can find me on Instagram, find me on TikTok, on YouTube, on Twitter. I'll put all the handles in the description. Go to the website to subscribe to our newsletter. I'm not dropping one for December because I took a month off, so like y'all don't really want to hear what I did in December. If I did, it's basically eat, sleep, repeat. So there will be one coming for January. Obviously, it's gonna be our first newsletter of 2023 dropping in the next month. Um and make sure you guys stay tuned because again, we're on the final stretch to episode 100. As of this recording, this is episode 93. So we're getting close. And like I said, guys, I have some people in mind in terms of who's gonna be the possible special guests for episode 100. I'm not gonna share it now because that would just ruin the surprise, guys. Listen, you know me. I like to drag people on like into the story. All right, so like you're just gonna have to see. You have to wait and see. But yeah, and just make sure you're following us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music. Also, if you want to get to hear the intro and outro track to this podcast, it's actually a song by me. It's called First Lady. It's on Apple Music, Spotify, SoundCloud, you name it. You want to go listen to the full track, you go listen to it there. But again, guys, I'm about to head out. Thank you again to Monique for coming on the podcast, and we'll see you guys next time.
Bye.